Hello everyone, welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Mike.
I'm Rainbow.
Well, it's day one of our story unit for this month.
How much land?
Yeah, our story has a really interesting title. The title's actually a question, which you don't often see as the title of a story when they ask you a question. And it's actually an interesting question. How much land does a man need? Now, I don't think they're only saying man. I think we could say how much land does a person need? Because, of course, women need land too. But if you were going to actually answer that question as a question, how much land does Rainbow need?
I don't think I need much land. I don't think so. I actually enjoy not owning land. I think it's quite a lot of responsibility.
That's a good point.
You know, you have to manage it.
True.
You have to see what you're going to do on the land.
Yep.
Maybe you'll need a farm. You need workers.
Sure, you might need anything. And anything you do on the land, you might need permits and regulations to follow.
Build houses.
Build things on your land. Of course, not only owning the land, that's difficult. Buying the land can be difficult because land is expensive, especially here in Taiwan.
It's more expensive here. I know people who own land back in America or Canada, but not here.
That's true.
What about you? How much land do you need?
Kind of my apartment.
Okay.
So I need that.
Okay.
But I guess not much more.
Okay, that's good.
You know, it is a big expense, but I do remember one thing that a teacher told me many years ago when we were talking about, you know, putting your money in places, buying stocks.
Oh, yeah.
He said something really interesting. He said, land is the only thing that we can't make more of.
Huh.
I was like, yeah, it's true. You could buy more houses, you could buy more expensive cars, buy more companies, but they're not making any more land.
Yeah,
This is all the land on the earth we have. So that's maybe why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's check out our story and find out, hopefully, how much land does a man need? Pahom is a peasant who lives a quiet life with his family in a village in the countryside. One day, he listens in on a conversation between his wife and her sister, who is visiting from the city. She is married to a rich merchant and boasts about how wonderful it is to be wealthy. Hearing this, Pahom quietly considers buying a larger property. Our only trouble is that we haven't land enough. If I had plenty of land, I shouldn't fear the devil himself, he says. The devil, who is hiding behind the stove, hears Pahom and resolves to turn him to a life of greed. So, how much land does a man need? Let's find out.
All right, so the first sentence of the article is about our main character named Pahom. Pahom is a peasant who lives a quiet life with his family in a village in the countryside.
Okay.
One day, he listens in on a conversation between his wife and her sister, who is visiting from the city. Sounds like a secret.
Interesting. So his wife and her sister, Pahom's sister-in-law, are chatting one day, and Pahom, we learned there, is a peasant. So he's a pretty poor guy. He works out on the land. He maybe works on a farm or something. Not his own farm. He might have a small bit of land, but he really doesn't have much, and he seems okay with that. He seems happy with his life. Anyways, let's talk about his wife's sister. It says she is married to a rich merchant, and boasts about how wonderful it is to be wealthy.
I'm rich.
So Pahom might have a little bit of jealousy here. His wife's sister is married to a rich business person in the city, and she's like, it's great being rich. I love being rich. Being rich is where it's at, baby. Anyways, this guy who she's married to is a merchant. I said a businessman. A merchant is kind of like an older term you might use for a businessman, but basically it's someone who buys and sells goods. Maybe they don't have a store, maybe they do. Maybe they're trading things from this part of the country, putting it on boats, selling it in that part of the country. The idea here, though, is they make their money on trade, on business, buying and selling, not necessarily on actually making things with their own hands. This merchant has made a lot of money buying and selling. For example, several merchants began selling vegetables outside the castle. Oh, that's a more simple kind of merchant work, buying and selling fruit and vegetables in a market. Sure.
Hearing this, Pahom quietly considers buying a larger property.
Ooh.
Our only trouble is that we haven't land enough. If I had plenty of land, I shouldn't fear the devil himself, he says. So he thinks that, he needs more land.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting thought.
Yeah, he's kind of focused his ideas on if I have more stuff, if I have more money, I will be a happier person. I think we can all think of someone who might think along those lines, but he's not thinking, if I have the new iPhone, if I have this new pair of running shoes or whatever, I will be a happier person. He's thinking, if I have more property, I will be a happy, successful person. When we talk about property, we're talking about land, basically. Property also would include anything you own. It could be a building, a home, a house. It could be a car, a bicycle, a computer. It could be a pen, a pencil, or your shoes. These are your property. You paid for them. You own them. They belong to you. If someone tries to take them without your permission, they are stealing, and that would be a crime. But we do often use this word property when we're talking about land and for homes.
Houses.
I'm going to buy some property because I plan to get married next year. When we talk about it as buying property, we're usually meaning land or a building or something like that. For example, my rich uncle owns several properties in the city. One is an empty field. He's going to put up a building. One is a parking lot, and one is a little business office. These are different types of properties that my uncle owns. Anyway, so Pahom just said, if I had more land, I would be so happy. Even the devil couldn't scare me. The devil wouldn't hurt me. I would be such a happy man. Well, next we read, the devil who was hiding behind the stove hears Pahom and resolves to turn him to a life of greed. Ooh. Oh, this is not good. He just kind of casually said, if I had money, I wouldn't even be afraid of the devil. He didn't know that the devil was hiding in his kitchen.
And listening.
Behind the stove. What's the devil doing behind the stove? We don't know. This is the story. But the devil heard him no matter where he was and said, oh, really? Having money would make you happy? Let's see about that. So the devil resolved or promised to turn Pahom to a life of greed.
Which means you'll be greedy but never happy.
You're going to want so much and you'll never get it and you'll never really be happy. The devil's not a nice guy.
No.
You should chase him out of your kitchen if he's hiding in there. Let's take a break and then we'll be back to find out how Pahom's life goes terribly, terribly badly from now on.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次要读的短篇故事是俄国文豪托尔斯泰的作品，叫做 How much land does a man need？ 一个人需要多少地？好，故事里面的主角帕洪呢，他是一名农夫，和家人住在乡下一个村落里面，他过着平静的生活。那文中用到 peasant， 就是指农夫，古代的农夫。好，那有一天帕洪就偷听到太太跟姐姐的对话，姐姐是从城里面来拜访，那她嫁给一位富商，还吹嘘着说，哇，有钱是多么的美好。那听到这件事，帕洪他就暗中考虑要买一块更大的地产。他认为唯一的问题就是没有足够的土地。如果有很多土地，他就不会怕魔王了。殊不知魔王就躲在炉子后面。魔王听到帕洪的话，就决定要让他过着贪婪的生活。我们来看单字 merchant。Merchant 是名词，它表示商人，尤其是指贸易商。那么 property 它表示地产、房产。当这个意思来解释时是可数名词，那它也可以当不可数名词来表达所有物或是资产。这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点，与现在事实相反的假设句。我们用 if 去引导跟现在事实相反的假设句时 ，if 子句的动词要用过去式。那我们来看句型是 if 主词加上过去式动词，或者是 were 逗号主词加上 would、could 或是 might 或是 should 再加原形动词。那特别注意 if 子句的动词用过去式。那如果你是用 be 动词的话，无论人称一律都用 were。那如果 if 子句里面有助动词，就必须使用过去式助动词哦。我们来造两个例句 ：If I were you, I wouldn't buy that dress. 如果我是你，我不会买那件洋装。If you could make a wish come true, what would it be? 如果你能使一个愿望成真，你的愿望会是什么呢？好，这回课文中。
Sometime later, one of the village's landowners suddenly decides to sell her land. Pahom quickly sells all his possessions, takes out several loans, and buys a property of his own. Within a year, he pays off his debts and enjoys the spoils of his hard work. All is well until Pahom hears about a nearby commune with plentiful stretches of farmland. Pahom decides to move his family there, and they get a taste of the good life. They have more than ever before, but it isn't enough for Pahom. So, the hero of our story, a simple peasant named Pahom, has decided to become greedy. He thinks that his greed will make him happier. He'll buy land, he'll have more money, he'll be happier. That's what he thinks. But the devil heard him kind of with this wish, and the devil said, "No, I'm going to make you so greedy, your life will be terrible, sad, and awful." So we're going to see what happens. It says next, sometime later, one of the village's landowners suddenly decides to sell her land. Ooh, this could be good,
dream
right?
Come true.
Yeah, Pahom was looking for some new land, so this could be great for him. And it says Pahom quickly sells all his possessions, takes out several loans, and buys a property of his own. Wow, this is a big risk he's taking, a big gamble he's taking. He sold all his possessions, so basically everything he owned, his clothes, his horse, his best cloak. I don't know, he's a poor guy. So whatever he had, he sold, and then he also got a loan from a bank. He borrowed money from people, so he's really hoping this works.
Yeah, so the word possession, 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 there's a lot of S's there. These are things you own that are worth money. So your possessions could be your clothes, it could be a nice bag, it could be, you know, what do people usually possess? Oh, it could be like a fancy crystal or something, or like a diamond ring. You know, when you sell your possessions, usually you do this for a specific reason. Maybe you're moving somewhere, or maybe you need the money quickly, or maybe you want to live a simple life. I have an example sentence for you. Peter gave up all his possessions and became a monk.
Wow.
So a monk is a person who studies in the mountains, maybe with a Buddhist teacher or something, and every day he would wear the same thing and he goes to practice Buddhism, so he doesn't need many material things. He doesn't need many possessions.
Interesting. So he sold all his possessions, all his stuff, the things that he owns, and he also got, I think, 2 loans. Didn't it say a couple of loans?
He got loans.
So he borrowed money. Basically, a loan is an amount of money that I will give to you, or you will borrow from me or from a bank. And the idea here is that this money will help you do some kind of business, and then in the future you will pay me back that money slowly, and you'll end up paying me back a little bit more than you borrowed. So this makes
interesting.
this makes it okay for me to give it to you, because I'll give it back later and I'll actually get back a little bit more. That's what happens when it's from a bank. If it's from your parents or your brother or whatever, they could just say, okay, yeah, I'll give you some money and you pay me back the same amount in the future. The idea is that I don't have the money now, but if I get a loan, I do, and then I'll pay the money back. For example, Doris took out a loan to start her own business. Yeah, to buy the restaurant and to get it set up. You might get a loan to buy a house. You might get a loan to buy a car. You know, the kinds of things that are expensive.
Okay, so the next part of the story says within a year he pays off his debts and enjoys the spoils of his hard work.
Worked good.
Wow, so he pays off all the money that he loaned, All is well until Pahom hears about a nearby commune with plentiful stretches of farmland. Okay, so he hears about this area next to him called a commune, and it has a lot of farmland. And I think, maybe he's going to want some more land.
Yeah, this is interesting because he's actually been successful becoming...
And he has land already.
Yeah, becoming a businessman, but on kind of a small level. He didn't go crazy, and he did end up, making the money. So that's good. Let's see what happens, though. Pahom decides to move his family there, and they get a taste of the good life. Oh, so they move to this commune, more land, and it actually, again, it works out. They make more money. They get a taste of the good life. So they suddenly have nice clothes. They might have a few servants, a cook who makes them the best food. They're living in a big house. Things are going well. This is the good life. This is the life of a successful person. They feel very lucky and they've earned it. They have more than ever before. But it isn't enough for Pahom. Remember the devil infecting him with greed? So even though he might normally think, this is great, my life is so good, I'm so happy, I can stay this way forever. No, the devil's made him greedy, so that's never enough. He always wants more.
I think it's going to be a bad next day for the story.
This is the beginning of the bad part of the story. That's what we're expecting. When the devil's involved, the story never really goes that well, does it? Let's find out, though, tomorrow. And me too. We're going to see what happens to Pahom. Oh, good luck, Pahom. And we'll see you guys back here for that. Until then, take care and bye-bye.
好，那过了一段时间，村里就有一个地主突然决定要卖掉他的土地。那么帕红很快就卖掉所有财产，借了几笔贷款，然后买下自己的地产。不到1年，他就还清债务，享受着他勤奋工作的成果。后来还听说啊，附近一个农民公社有大量的农地，那他就决定要全家搬去那边，他们就有体验到美好的生活。可是这对帕红来说还不够，看来他开始变得很贪婪哦。好，文中用到 commune 这个字 ，commune 在这边是指19世纪俄罗斯的这种公社，像农村公社社群的意思。那它是由农民来组成的社区。而我们的单字 possession 它表示财产、所有物。当这个意思来解释时，常常用复数形。那它也可以当不可数名词来表达拥有、持有的意思。单字例句写到 Peter 放弃所有财产，成了一名僧侣。Rainbow 老师这时候提到 Buddhism 就是佛教，那么 Buddhist 就可以表达佛教的，用来当形容词。下一个单字 loan。Loan loan 表示贷款、借款，我们常常用 take out a loan 去表达办理贷款的意思。这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点 ，get a taste of something 表示尝试什么、体验什么什么。那这个片语呢，可以接抽象名词，以字面的意思品尝某事物的滋味，去表达尝试、体验某事物。那么 taste 在这边当名词，表示短暂的体验或是感受。举例来说 ，Julie got a taste of fame after her song went viral on social media。Julie 的歌在网络上疯传之后，她体验到成名的滋味。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Pahom is a peasant who lives a quiet life with his family in a village in the countryside. One day, he listens in on a conversation between his wife and her sister, who is visiting from the city. She is married to a rich merchant and boasts about how wonderful it is to be wealthy. Hearing this, Pahom quietly considers buying a larger property. Our only trouble is that we haven't land enough. If I had plenty of land, I shouldn't fear the devil himself, he says. The devil, who is hiding behind the stove, hears Pahom and resolves to turn him to a life of greed. Sometime later, one of the village's landowners suddenly decides to sell her land. Pahom quickly sells all his possessions, takes out several loans, and buys a property of his own. Within a year, he pays off his debts and enjoys the spoils of his hard work. All is well until Pahom hears about a nearby commune with plentiful stretches of farmland. Pahom decides to move his family there, and they get a taste of the good life. They have more than ever before, but it isn't enough for Pahom.
After walking around and enjoying the many exhibitions at the National Museum of Natural Science, you will probably start feeling hungry. One option is to stay at the museum and dine at McDonald's or any of the on-site restaurants. However, there are also gourmet restaurants near the museum you may wish to check out. Numerous restaurants serving exotic foods are located on Jianqing Road and Boguan Road. A mere 500 meters away from the museum is the multifunctional shopping center, Park Lane by Splendor, which is known for its cultural and creative atmosphere and renowned restaurants. After a full day at the museum, this is a great place for visitors to relax and enjoy a nice dinner. On the 3rd and 4th floors of the shopping center are dozens of restaurants featuring all types of cuisines. If you would like to eat at a Western restaurant, you can go to Big Mama or Tasty. If you are in the mood for some light and healthy Japanese food, Watami Japanese Casual Restaurant and Shinyi Shusi Dong come highly recommended. Other restaurants serve Italian food, Thai food, hot pot, and more. Banchan, a Korean restaurant located on the 4th floor, is a popular choice among food bloggers. Banchan generously provides 6 different side dishes for customers to enjoy. For the main dish, you might want to try the tofu stew, barbecue, or the signature bibimbap. The Korean seafood pancake served at Banchan is different from other restaurants. This specialty pancake has a thick crust and is served in a cast iron skillet to keep it warm. It's a must-have for people who enjoy traditional Korean food.
See you next time!